in fact him.
The last man was him. He
sort
just
of
went up. I
watching
missed
the pictures.
it.
And again, we're not in control of these pictures. Our folks on the ground, we're getting this from one of our partners in Scotland. But again, you're watching the release of Al Megrahi. Listen, let me tell you, I want to give you guys some context about exactly how this happened.
Oh, they went to check the plane.
Just so you remember it. For
Now they're
those
going to
of us
get him.
who are old enough to remember 1988 and the
Yep, I was
bombing of
22.
Pan Am Airways.
Lived in Scotland when I was 4 and 5, too.
In 2001, after the prosecution
Oh,
argued
like
they had placed a bomb hidden in a suitcase on a flight from Malta to Frankfurt, Germany. And the prosecutor said the bomb was transferred onto Pan Am Flight 103. Here we go. There he is in the white suit. The first person going up the steps of the airplane. It looks like he's covering his face there on the side, wearing a white jacket and white hat, just getting on the airplane. And that is probably the best picture we're going to get of the day of him until we see what happens on the other side here. But again,
free all terminally ill prisoners.
I'm getting some instructions, so I'm talking slowly, pausing for you just so I can get those instructions in.
Every person
again,
that
I
is in jail, terminally ill,
Megrahi
free them. Free them.
Believed to be one
Think of all the
person
money
responsible for that.
you will save as a government. Think of all the people you would make happy and be compassionate towards.
And then
Think
first
of
went
it.
to London Heathrow
Let
Airport, and then took off
everybody
to New
who
York.
is terminally ill out
En
of
route
jail
to New York,
to go home with
a
their
whole lot of
family.
students, about 35 students from Syracuse University. We spoke to the mom of one of
Let
them.
one out, let them all
other
out.
people as well. That flight blew up, mile into the air. The debris
Horrible
from
what
that
happened. I
plane
don't agree with
rained
what happened.
down
But gosh, if
Lockerbie,
you're going to let one
Scotland.
person out, let everybody
And
out.
that is really,
And you don't know if he did it
probably
anyway. He might have
unfortunately
just
for
been a fall
Lockerbie,
guy.
Scotland, what they will be remembered
The point is,
for.
every terminally ill person in
So,
jail,
Abdel Basset Ali Mohammed
compassionate,
Megrahi,
peace and love,
being released today,
should
getting
be
aboard that
released today,
plane, Glasgow Airport,
every day,
Tripoli. 5 children on the other
hereafter.
side, his wife, and his parents. Tin and Suzanne Malveaux
start
joining us now with
freedom
reaction
revolution.
from
Let
the
everybody out of jail.
and hearing from one of the
They're
family
dying
members
like
this
this,
morning.
then let them
They're
all
saying they
out.
don't have the privilege of meeting,
Can't do
sadly,
for one and not
very
do for
harshly
others.
put,
Not right.
their dead loved ones on the other side. Their family is gone
Prove
forever.
that it isn't fixed by letting
Well, yes,
everybody
you're right,
out.
Don, and I actually had an opportunity on the Situation Room to interview one of those family members of the victims who expressed a great deal of anger and frustration with this decision. But we just got out of Robert Gibbs' office, White House spokesman Robert Gibbs, who emphasized the White House administration's position on this as well. He reiterated that they expressed deep sympathies to the families of the victims of Pan Am Flight 103, that they have expressed to the United Kingdom and Scottish authorities their dismay with this decision. The official statement coming from the White House this morning, and I'll just read it to you very briefly. It says, the United States deeply regrets the decision by the Scottish executive to release Abdel Basset Mohammed Al Megrahi. Megrahi was convicted and sentenced to life in prison for his role in the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103, which blew up over Scotland on December 21st, 1988. As we have expressed repeatedly to officials of the government, the United Kingdom, and to Scottish authorities, we continue to believe that Megrahi should serve out his sentence in Scotland. On this day, we extend our deepest sympathies to the families who live every day with the loss of their loved ones. We recognize the effects of such a loss weigh upon a family forever. And senior administration officials also telling us this morning, told us that it was Secretary of State Clinton, you had Attorney General Holder, the White House, and other government officials. They have had extensive contacts with all of their colleagues, their counterparts in Scotland and the United Kingdom, to emphasize this very message, that they don't support the release of Megrahi. And Don, one last thing is in this gathering, meeting with Robert Gibbs
that I
morning,
do support that every terminally ill
what is the United States going to do? Is
in
they're going
jail
to follow up here,
be
file
released
sort of formal
from here on out.
complaint, and he
From
said
here on out.
they are
Why not?
Expressing their deep sympathy
man
and their
is going to be
regret at
released
this decision. So we don't know if
because
any
he's
further action
terminally
at
ill.
this time.
Compassion.
That's how the
Let
administration
every
is
inmate
responding
out.
to this news.
Okay. That is
Secretary
terminally
State,
ill.
speaking out earlier
Please.
about that as well,
Gosh.
and she said that it
Read
was
the piece. Read it.
horrific that he was being let out, and said she represented some of the victims' families, and she just thinks it's appalling that he is being released. Suzanne Malveaux, stand by. We're going to have continuing coverage of this story. Suzanne Malveaux reporting on what the administration is saying their response to this, specifically the White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs. I want to get now to our security analyst, Mr. Mike Brooks. Mike, no doubt you were in law enforcement and following this very closely when this all went down in 1988 and the subsequent trials and everything that's happened since. Explain to us the wrangling here, and explain to us what happened aboard that plane and what security people are saying about what happened.
Well, Don, as a matter of fact, I was actually involved in this case. It was the last case I investigated when I was with the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, and actually was in Malta working on this case, preparing for trial with the Scottish authorities in 1999. And in fact, I came back as soon as I got home from Malta. It's when Gaddafi turned the two Libyans, Megrahi and his co-defendant, over to the Scottish authorities. And I want to remind everyone, Don, that this was the deadliest terrorist attack against America, against Americans before 9/11. There were 180 people killed in this flight. There were during this flight, 47 British nationals. And, talking this morning with some of my law enforcement cohorts and other people who've been calling me, knowing that I worked on it, everyone is extremely upset that they let this guy go. And even more so now, Don, when you see him walk up the steps of that airplane, if he was so sick, everyone was expecting him to be carried up the plane, up the steps.
So full of
but
hate,
to see him walk up the steps and going back to Tripoli, Libya, to be with his family, extremely upsetting to a lot of people that I know.
Yeah, and I believe that this was
take a lesson and let every one of your American inmates that's terminally ill out of jail.
Americans, but it was one
That's
of
the
the
lesson,
deadliest
people.
attacks against Brits as well. Hey, Mike, we've got a short time here,
I'm
but I
a
want
Brit.
to talk
We're a
to you
bit
about
different.
the circumstances
Just
surrounding
a bit
this.
different.
Real quickly, here's what prosecutors
We let
saying.
people out of jail on
Who was
compassion.
convicted in 2001 after the
Yes,
prosecution argues
compassion.
that he had placed a bomb hidden in a suitcase on a flight from Malta to Frankfurt, Germany, and the prosecutor said the bomb was transferred onto the Pan Am plane that went first to London's Heathrow Airport, and then it took off to New York City, but never got that far.
Exactly. And what is believed is that the Megrahi actually, he was believed to be an Libyan intelligence agent working in the security for Air Malta, and actually put the tags and walked it around security and put it on that Air Malta jet himself, transferred to a 727, a connector flight from in London to Frankfurt, and then from Frankfurt, to London, where it took off and then exploded 31,000 feet over Scotland.
He wasn't alone in all of this, Mike.
Getting free.
Who was he connected to? Who else?
Well, it's believed, his co-defendant, the guy who was acquitted, was a guy by the name of Al-Amin Khalifa.
Hey, I want to know,
if
he's terminally ill, why does he need help? I mean, why is he walking up the steps? I just noticed that. Well, my point is, everybody that's terminally ill should be let out of jail.
It was not like here in the United States where
He's not that terminally ill, else he would be on a stretcher.
This were judges,
Wow, it took me 20 minutes to realize that.
Mike, hold
Nice
that thought.
tail.
I just want to say,
Here he
the
goes.
plane,
Here he goes.
in the airplane, getting ready to taxi and then take off from Glasgow.
1 minute left. I want to own this thing
head to
here.
Tripoli. Mike, we're
Hurry up, take off.
all this. Mike Brooks, continue your thoughts. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right, Don. No, he's my students from Syracuse, and they were very involved in this, Don. There was a large contingent of Americans who were there at the trial, following everything that went on in The Hague, and you could hear her outrage and her frustration this morning.
Yeah, earlier video.
She was reliving some of her experiences during the trial. Because I remember this. I mean, there were people who went all the way over there for the trial, right? And I mean, they followed the trial every single moment of it.
I see when I go back to
Big
England.
news here. Big news reported, much as we've been seeing a lot of the terrorist
British
attacks
Isles.
in recent years reported.
Lived in
This was
Scotland.
one of the biggest things,
God, I
as you said,
miss
one of the biggest terrorist attacks on
Lived
America,
in England.
and also on
And that's what you fly
on
into.
Britain as well.
I cry when I arrive and I cry when I leave, and I've been back for
playing out
too
now.
long, 6
The
years.
mother says she's not sure. The mother you spoke about
Gotta
Susan
pause
Cohen
so we
said
can watch
she's
it
not
take off.
sure exactly what she, Scotland,
Yeah, it's
the area in
taxiing. I
Scotland,
gotta keep
where
starting and stopping.
this missing, heading
I
south
understand
to
compassion. My
Tripoli.
brother was born in
What do you
Stirling,
make of all
Scotland in
And so many
1970,
years
April
for the
13th.
fact
I
that
lived
what
in
happened, and
Alva.
all of a sudden
Here we
it's
go. This man
And
flying off to freedom.
really,
I lost
like,
my only brother.
just for maybe 2 hours,
Hurts
custody of
however
Alpha.
you lose.